Many of you, but not all of you. Thank you so much for coming. We just have a few things we want to do. First, I was told to do a few little housekeeping things. One is the bathroom is behind you, if you haven't found it already. The other is that, where did Anita go?
I'm here.
We welcome you. Anita is our host, and even though I put a certain name on the invitation, this is Casa Anita. And we
Casa Anita.
Thank you, Anita.
It's my casa, it's not an event space.
Beautiful.
And on behalf of the newly formed organization and board, we really want to welcome you. I just want to introduce the board really quickly, and then we're just going to have a couple of presentations from Kim, and then from a family member, and then a short video. So we won't take up too much of your networking time, which is really the whole point of this whole gig, and to get to know people in person. So I'm Barbara, I just introduced myself. Kim, you're going to hear from in a minute. She's our president. Many of you know Kim, of course. Sigrid. This is Sigrid Swarbrand, who has also been a founding member of the board. And you know Sigrid. She's our treasurer and secretary. And Ruth Curran, who was helping with name tags. So now many of you know Ruth. She's also a member of our board. And Crispin Sargent, who is also a founding member. So now some faces and voices with the board. So we are thrilled to have you. Ruth, were those the things I was supposed to do? Okay, Kim, you're up. Can you speak loudly? Yes.
Are you kidding? I have the oldest first child voice. So I'm going to take about 10 minutes. I have a little story and then I want to tell you what the organization is doing. But first let me tell you, if you don't know, that if you go out into a grocery store and say, I'm going to a death party and there are 50 people there, you're going to get cuts in line. So thank you for coming, because we are a rarefied little corner of the world. We may be used to living in it, but we are a rarefied corner. So when I was thinking about this, I thought, in the history of humankind, we have just been dealing with our deaths we have new opportunities to do old things over and over. And so I want to start out in 1400 with the plague. Just saying, the plague took 60% of Europe out. And the people who were left were terrified. They had no idea what was killing them. They had no idea when they would die. They had no idea at all what was happening, except that most of the world was Christian. And they knew that dying was a really important thing because there were a lot of repercussions. So in their fear, the church wrote a book. It was a guidebook. It's called Ars Moriendi. It was about the art of dying. And it was beautiful and it was very prescriptive. A lot of pictures because people were illiterate. But it basically said to people, dying is not a bad thing. Don't be so scared. And if you do this right, and this is your choice, there are questions that you can ask that will make this easier for you. And there are fears that you will have, and if you overcome them, you will be able to die with the hope of redemption, with the hope of forgiveness. You'll be able to die with patience and humility and the chance to gracefully let go of your life and your body and your family and your friends. It also told them exactly what kind of attitudes to have. It told their friends how to be with them, including specific direction to make sure that they did a testament and knew who they were giving their property to.
Wow.
And it also told their friends how to be with them when they could no longer speak. Does that language sound familiar? What a gift. It was a guidebook. And it really helped people at a time when they knew they needed some kind of support. So the whole culture adopted this. How cool is that? And it was good for people. Let's skip ahead for 100 years to the beginning of the advent of modern medicine and modern science. This was not, as in human history, this was not an easy evolution or transition, right? So the newly minted medical society wasn't very well trained. And they were running up against natural medicine. And one thing we know for sure is that they decided that they wanted to be in charge of childbirth. And up until now, it had been midwives. So there was actually a lot of marketing down. They had the new shiny stuff. They looked like they could do better. So they ended up co-opting childbirth. And for a little while, mortality rates for mothers and children went up by almost half. They weren't good at what they did. But eventually, as they grew, they discovered germs. Quality of life went up for everybody. and the mortality rates went down. And things started changing. And then they discovered antibiotics. And when they discovered antibiotics, it was the first time that people felt like they could cheat death. And what a tool was that? And they became the custodian of our deaths, not the church anymore. Medicine became the custodian of our deaths. Now, we keep saying we're taking back our deaths. I don't think we're taking them back, I think we're taking them forward. Because the boomers, and I am one, so I can say this, the most affluent, educated, sophisticated, selfish generation that has ever been born. Every one of us our name should have been on our birth certificate. Kim, we want our way, Mooney. We want our way. And we have the power to do it. So about 50 years ago, we started looking at these movements. We call it patient autonomy, which is kind of a misnomer. It's too mechanical. But really what we want now is we want good medicine when we want it. We want good technology when it works for us. We want people around us, like hospice and palliative care and doulas, who aren't afraid of death and who can really help us with the world we live in now. But we also want the ability to gracefully let go of our family and friends, and the time for redemption, and the patience and the humility. So we're moving forward, and this evolution is also not that easy. So medical aid and dying, what we're talking about today, is not the be-all and end-all. Because in the last 20, 30 years, we have had several things that have been, as medical aid and dying is now, contentious, confusing, empowering. Hospice used to be like that. Hospice was contentious and confusing and on the outskirts of empowering. Palliative care, palliative sedation, voluntary stopping eating and drinking. All these different tools that we've used to expand in a world we've never been in. And we're there with medical aid and dying. This is an amazing time for us to be in this process. So nothing in the past is our enemy. Nothing in the past are we working against. We're just working more forward, just as we have been for thousands of years. Except now we're the custodians of our own death. And we know what it is we want. And so this community of people that are sitting in here are representative of the community that actually started this group. I want you to know that we're part of a national movement that's very sophisticated. Really quickly, in April of last year, I just put out a call to everybody I knew in the state and said, anybody want to talk about this? It's been 6 years, law passed. I had over 50 people respond right away, and most of us got on a Zoom call. And I will tell you, it was a feeding frenzy. It was so fun. Some people hadn't heard anything about what had happened. We were sharing resources. I mean, it was great. And at the end of it, this little group of people, particularly these cool people, said, let's do something about this. Let's get together. So where we sit in the structure is we have 3 amazing national organizations, Compassion and Choices, and Angela is our handler. Death with Dignity National Center and the American Clinicians Academy on Medical Aid and Dying. They're all very powerful, they're really sophisticated, and they're able to support and help us. And by us, I mean every state has a group like this. We're latecomers. End-of-life options, Colorado, they're almost in every state, not just the states that have the law passed. End-of-life Washington, Florida is 6 people sitting around a table right now. And we are all helping each other, whether the law's been implemented or not. So we're part of this incredible sisterhood, brotherhood, familyhood, really taking care of each other. So what we get to do is we get to do exactly what we need. And we've got lots of education. So here we are the critical on-the-ground resource for anybody in this state who wants to learn about end-of-life choices, period. We've had people call us from the day the website went up. We're getting calls like, my father's going into a facility, what do I do? We got a call from a 20-year-old at a Catholic university last week. We just did a 6-week course on assisted suicide. I have a feeling there's other things that I should learn about this. You know anything? So it's going to be education. It's going to be fun support. We're going to help people find resources. There's very little that we can't really do, and we're going to know about the things that are not part of our organization, like Jen, Dr. McCullough over there, and I are working on a study at CSU. And right now what we're trying to do is find around the country the people who haven't been able to access me and the stories of anybody whatever reason. So we've got some flyers we're putting out. Help us find them. If you want to be part of a project that we're doing, we're looking for people who can financially back us. We're looking for people in the community who want to participate a lot or a little bit in the kind of things we're doing, because we came out of the community. We're all volunteer. We are all incredibly brilliant and beautiful and hardworking. None of us have any flaws. We're fun to work with. And we're thrilled. I mean, I think every one of us is humbled and thrilled at the opportunity to do this. Everything's just starting. And we need to
Inspiration, yeah. Michelle?
Yes.
This is Michelle. I'm going to let her introduce herself. You have to speak loudly. I know